Kern County's economy relies heavily on revenue from oil and gas companies. But how does this revenue impact you or local schools or even public safety? Well, here to break it all down is Kern County Assessor Recorder John Liftquist, and he's joining us this evening. And his role is assessing all the property within the county limits and carrying out the rules and regulations imposed by property tax laws. So, John, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start off first by asking you, as of March 2020, we know the entire nation, including Kern County, was struck by the COVID-19 pandemic, hurting people not just emotionally and mentally, but also financially. So how is the county doing financially just from COVID itself?
Well, you have to take into consideration that this year's property taxes were based on the value January 1st of 2020. So the property tax impact hasn't hit Kern County yet. The sales tax revenue has declined. The county has obviously incurred a number of expenses. But again, we deal with property tax, and that impact hasn't hit the county yet.
Now, earlier this week, you stated a $3 billion decline in oil and gas. And for those people that didn't get to see the Board of Supervisors meeting, I actually want to go ahead and play this sound, and then we'll talk about it.
We're looking at a $3 billion decline in oil and gas. Obviously, a 40% decline would be substantially more.
Now, of course, I want to ask you, what did you mean by that? And can you give us some context of what that means so people can understand what you meant by a $3 billion decline?
Well, I have to admit that I misspoke a bit there. I was talking about a $3 billion decline in our total assessment roll. The actual decline, projecting a 30% decline in oil and gas, equates to a $4.7 billion decline in that particular property.
So it's even more.
That is offset somewhat. It's higher. It's offset somewhat by an anticipated increase in other assessments.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead and go ahead and repeat the second part of the question.
No, I just wanted to make sure that people understood what you were talking about as far as a $3 billion decline. Hearing that it's even more, it's into the fours now. Does that concern you?
It concerns me certainly as a department head. I can't really concern myself with valuations. We have to put the correct valuation on whether it's high or low. So obviously it affects me as a department head. I could see my budget cut, but nonetheless, if property values are declining, we have to reduce them.
And if we have to reduce them, what does that mean? Will that impact our social services? And if so, how?
It will potentially impact all county services, yes. It will impact the budget of the sheriff, the DA, libraries, everyone.
And I just want to make sure I'm clear that when we say it impacts them, that means that money will be taken away, for example, say the sheriff's department. That means what to residents here? Well,
obviously, limited decrease in the sheriff's budget means less law enforcement on the streets. Decrease in the DA's budget means lesser ability to prosecute. Decrease in the library's budget means potentially reducing the hours or shutting libraries.
And talking about the new wells now that just got approved, if you had to estimate how much revenue could these new wells possibly generate to Kern County now that we're seeing that decline, how much money could we expect these new wells to generate for us?
Well, that's a kind of a difficult question. We don't value on a per well basis necessarily. The nature of oil and gas is that the production is reliant on new construction, new wells. If you have an oil field without any oil wells, then obviously it has no value as an oil field with no ability to take the oil out of the ground and get it to market. So without permitting, the value of the oil field would reduce dramatically and quickly.
John, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We definitely appreciate it. And thank you for helping us digest all of this information. We know that it's a lot, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Alex.